deeper into it. Here it is again. The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, one seeing, one knowing, one love. Now, you can approach something like that in two ways. One is to hear it, listen to the words or read the words, and let the words penetrate you without attempting to analyze them. In other words, without trying to work out what it is they mean. And that's an interesting way and a very effective way of approaching a spiritual teaching. But it has to be an empowered statement that comes from the deepest source, as this does. Then it can work in that way. Receive it, be receptive to it, non-analytically. So let's do this first. There is another way too, which we'll come to. The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. Can you just listen to that and allow it to sink in, and perhaps get a glimpse of the truth to which it points in yourself without any explanation or analysis? The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. And the rest of the statement again. My eye and God's eye are one seeing, one knowing, one love. And now let's see if we approach it in a different way. Let's begin to think about it. Of course, then the first thing you will say is, well, the eye with which I see God, you say, well, my eye has actually never seen God. This eye has not seen God, nor could it ever see God, because God is not something that you can see. Okay, so that's the first stumbling block, but of course that means that what he's talking about here is not actually the physical eye. What he's talking about is deeper than the physical eye. That eye he's talking about, it's also deeper than seeing. He's not really talking about seeing, the visual act of perception. No. So what is it then? Well, could it be that he's talking about that in you that makes the seeing possible? That in you that makes the perception possible. And what's that? Consciousness, to give it a word. But that's only a word, of course. There is a light in which the perception appears, the visual perception, and that is not the external light. There is an inner light in which the perception is known, without which there could be no perception, there could be no seeing. And that inner light is the light of consciousness. and that is divine, and that is related to God in the same way that sunlight is related to the sun, ultimately one with the sun. The light emanates from the sun, the actual light that we can see, and in the same way, Master Eckhardt would say, or any body who has gone deeply into him or herself, that is the light of the unconditioned, or the One, or God. So that in you that makes the seeing possible, that is the light of consciousness in you. That at this moment also makes the seeing possible and the hearing possible. Can you sense that in yourself, as yourself? That's where you transcend the person and go deeper, where you merge with the greater intelligence, where you see yourself, you suddenly realize that you are only a strand within that vast intelligence. You are an emanation of that. Now, from now on, every other quote, statement that I read will shed light on this, because this is the very core and essence.